Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of A to Z. That's not going to be our theme song. I refuse to let that be our theme song. Um, Today's episode, well, first, let me introduce myself. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Zero. Yeah. So I'm Zero Remsen, and below me to my right is my man Aaron Chase. For those of you that don't know, this podcast is the A to Z podcast, you guys. It's where we talk about stuff. Honestly, it's very loose. We kind of talk about whatever's coming to our mind. Aaron represents the yin, the darkness, the reality, the natural, the more realistic of the two of us, and I represent the yang, the airy fairy, the light, the rainbow colored glasses, the optimist, like all of those traits and blah blah. And so yeah, together somewhere in the middle, we entertain because our perspectives were like very similar, but we come from very different upbringings, and like how we are as people are totally different. And so we make jokes, we talk about things, it gets interesting sometimes. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about strippers. Because if you watched the last episode, we started getting into that conversation, and Aaron has worked in a strip club at one point. So he's going to give us some backdrop, and then we'll get into whatever things come up from that.
The context of how I started working there?
Yeah, how did you start working at a strip club?
I wanted, I would drive down to San Diego to do improv. I was on the National Comedy Theater there, and I would drive down there, and there was a strip club there. It was called Expose, and
What a strip club name!
Yep. Shouts out to Augie. I hope he's doing well. So I would drive by, and I was in this place where I wanted to go to a strip club. I just never been, and I wanted to. And I had this girlfriend who was pansexual, I believe is what you'd call it. And so
Pan is where you like people for their personality, yeah?
That would be sapiosexual.
Okay.
Pan is where I know, I'm so woke.
There's too many. There's too many. I'll be that guy. There's too many.
Basically, pansexual is bisexual, including transgender. If I'm to summarize it in its most base form, that's kind of what it is.
Is it weird that in my head, bisexual already included transsexual?
I know. It's a whole,
okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, yeah, listen, man, whatever they need. So she was pansexual, and...
So she just really was attracted to women, so it just kind of worked. And so we went there to hang out, and it was fine, I guess. And I saw, and I was watching the bouncer guy, and I was like, he's not doing anything. And I was working at Pizza Hut, and I was miserable there, and my car was getting fucked up, and it wasn't good. And so I was like, I'll just try to work there. So I got a suit. I got like an oversized suit and a briefcase. I for real did this. I got a briefcase. I put my resume with my college degree that I had gotten at that point, I think.
That's silly.
Yeah, and I was like, "Hi, I'm interested in working."
I would like to be a bouncer here. As you can see, I've graduated from college.
Yeah, well, they liked my professionalism. Like most guys when they try to work there is like gross. Whereas I clearly was like, I want to work here.
Right.
So they hired me, and I was like, technically a bouncer, but I was more a door guy. I was a door guy. As a bouncer, I would just be the guy who would talk people down, if anything.
Okay.
And I was a day guy, so I wasn't dealing with like crazy shit.
Like you would talk people down, and like they would start to get rowdy or something?
If I didn't have to deal with it so much because I was a day guy, and that's a different vibe. At night, you have to deal with fights more because it's at night. But in the day, it was more hospitality. And if something were to go awry, my personality would calm people down more than they'd want to fight.
Got it. Okay.
And I don't even know where you want me to start with it because it was a weird experience.
I mean, just highlights. Give me the top moments.
So, so like, it's weird when you're standing there for 8 hours a day around naked women, and you're just around them naked all the time. It's weird because like
How old were you at this time?
I think I was like 24, 23, 24.
Huh. Okay.
And I just like it allowed me to view women as people more. Let me elaborate. Let me elaborate.
Yeah, please explain.
So like, sexually, as a dude, it throws you off. Like, you want to have the utmost respect for women. You want to talk to women like a person. But when you're young and you just need to fuck all the time, that's what you're thinking about. At least for me, that's what I was thinking about.
Oh, absolutely.
It was hard to like talk to women without constantly having that shit in your head. But
Right.
when you're around a bunch of naked women all the time, and it's just normal, eventually that numbs that, like, the idea of them being sexualized kind of numbs itself.
Yeah.
You can talk to them like
be into it all the time because it's so nonstop and constant.
yeah. And the owner, Dino. So Dino was this, like, picture if the characters from Goodfellas also went to the military, went to the Marines for a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah. I would go into his office, and he had pictures of mobsters. He had like he had a Marine flag. He had an old school safe with a disgusting amount of money in it. Like, it was crazy shit. And so most guys that would try to become bouncers were exactly who you would expect to be bouncers at strip clubs. But me being a bouncer there was a whole other, they had never, I don't think, ever experienced a guy like me. And
Right.
so I just liked learning shit. So I would ask people questions, and I would just be silly and ridiculous. On Halloween, I dressed up as Little Red Riding Hood with like a dress because I didn't give a fuck. And Dino would take me on runs where we would get into this minivan, this like classic soccer mom minivan, but he had what is that pic? You know when you put pictures on your van? Was it
A decal?
no? But like, it was the whole side of the van. It was the whole van. You know what I mean? Like a
And
big
it's
picture.
like a giant sticker.
Yeah, like a giant sticker of a naked woman on the van. So we're driving around, and people are staring at us, and some people look mad, some people are laughing, and he would take me on runs. So he would just take me places, and I would just ask him questions, and I would just talk to him. And it ranged from really innocent and very reasonable to like, was I an accomplice to something? What just happened? and like, okay, so like around Christmas time, we went to Target or Walmart, to just buy like video game consoles and shit for his son.
Okay.
And then sometimes we would go to other clubs to drop off money. He would give me like $5,000 in a little bag, and I would have to drive the company car to the bank and try not to get robbed and shit. It was like, it was fascinating, man.
That's interesting.
Do you have like, what is like specific questions, and I can answer them?
Okay. All right. Fielding questions. Okay, man. Okay, strip club bouncer. Okay, what was the most rowdy thing you saw specifically? Or like one of the more like this
I can tell you what was scary was
Okay.
I was new. I was maybe a month in, if I can even, if that. And my head was like, the way it was presented was like, the person has to pay money to get in. End of story. And working for a guy named fucking Dino, who has mobster. So I'm just like, I'm just going to do my job exactly as they tell me to do it.
Right.
And this mountain of a man walks. He had to duck under the ceiling. And I'm the bouncer. So this dude, and I don't remember his name. It's probably good that I don't remember his name. I'm not going to say his name. but
Yeah.
he was a well-known football player.
Okay.
And I didn't know shit about football. And so I didn't know who this guy was. So he comes in and he has a fucking entourage with him. He has a man who is he's about my size, who's holding all of his money that he's about to go spend.
Just
for
the most baller football player move. Just have a guy hold your money. That's your job. Like holding money guy.
And so he was like, he had a human money clip.
Human money clip.
And so he comes in and he's about to just walk past me. And I'm like, excuse me, sir. You're supposed to
Excuse me.
you're supposed to pay $10. Yeah.
I need $10. I know you got a fat wad there. If you could just slide me a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, for you and all your crew, so like 5 10s. That'd be.
So I'm like real timid because I don't know what to do. And my manager comes over and he's like, oh, he's new. Sir, come on in. And he comes up to me and he's like, you don't tell that guy what to do. He spends a lot of money here. He can come in whenever the fuck. And I was like, I didn't know that.
Was this?
What's up?
Was this? You said you were on day shift. Was this day shift?
I worked from noon till 8, I think, noon to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So
wait, that's day shift? Okay, see, I know nothing about this world. I thought day shift was like day shift. 12 a.m. 12 p.m. is not day. That's noon.
Noon is day at a strip club.
Yeah, it's strip club time, I guess. So
noon
to 8.
Noon to 8. And 8 was when shit got like rowdy because that was nighttime. That was a different element. And
so this guy, what do you have a relative clock on when a football player came in?
Probably like 2 p.m.
Okay.
But guys would come in. We had regulars. We had guys. There was this guy. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm gonna make up a name.
Yeah, just make up a name.
John.
We're not looking to spill people's tea. John is a perfect name because if you guys don't know, John is a term they use in the prostitute world for what they call
John. This dude.
So you learn things on the A to Z podcast, stuff you don't care about.
So this guy would come in, nerdy as all get out, glasses, goofy white. He was like if Carlton grew up to be 40 and had a bunch of kids and like was white.
That is fascinating for several reasons because my picture of a strip club, right, in my head is like a bunch of old dudes. Like just like they lost the game a long time ago. They're like, I'm coming here.
It ranged completely. Young, old, it didn't matter. And
I will give you, I guess I also picture like 18-year-olds who's like it's their first time. They're like, oh, we'll go to a strip club. But like
we had that. We had I had a dad bring in his son. It was hilarious.
My boy's first strip club.
But John would come in. He would come in every single day. Same time, same old shit. And I was new. So he would come in and then over time, like these guys, at the end of the day, it wasn't about, it was less about the girls and more about needing somebody to talk to. And especially a guy like this. He's a very sweet guy, very nice. Okay. And he would come in and then over time, he stopped giving a shit about the strippers and he just wanted to talk to me about comic books and shit.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So he would come in and he would like, girls would walk by.
Tripping for him, obviously.
Right, I was the guy.
You started as an Iron Man and you were just like, oh, Tony Stark's got a uniform.
So he would come in and girls would walk by and they'd be like, hey, John. And hold on a second. Do you need me to open the garage? Okay. 1 second.
Time out. He's got to go open the garage. So in the meantime, in the green time, I'll talk about something wholesome. Have you guys ever tried Fruit Loops? They're actually a very all-right cereal. I'm more of a Frosted Flakes man myself. That's not true. I don't eat cereal anymore. I actually had a bowl of rice for breakfast. Not healthy, because the way I make rice is how a lot of black people make rice. You know, I learned something recently because I was hanging out with a white friend of mine.
Okay.
I thought rice was a breakfast food, and I thought everybody ate rice like a breakfast food. And that the way that you eat rice is with butter and sugar. Like that's a
Ah,
part of it. Like I thought everybody did that, but turns out that's just a black thing. Who knew?
okay. I'm back.
Okay, he's back. And now we return to our scheduled programming about that.
Sure. So
Oh,
he
okay. I
would.
don't know how cool your family is with the topic
She
at
does.
hand.
My grandma doesn't know.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So he would talk to me, and I got to know him really well. He had kids that were all pretty much all grown up for the most part. They were a little younger than me, I think. And he
Okay.
had a wife who he hated.
How old was he?
Probably in his 40s or 50s.
Did he ever explain why he like stayed?
Yeah.
Okay, what was his reasoning?
He was a very self-aware beta male.
Ah.
So like I remember a few times, I think he said to me, I wish my wife would cheat on me so I could just divorce her without seeming like the bad guy, without having an excuse.
Oh, honey.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's so sad.
Well, what ended up happening, he grew up in a really
Also, his wife
religious.
never cheated on him.
She probably was cheating on him.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you leave the house at a very specific time of day all the time for I assume a couple hours.
Yeah. They didn't. I don't even think they slept in the same room.
Oh,
I think they
that's
slept completely.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. For years, they had never slept in the same room.
Jeez.
And well, he
That's
grew
a
up.
different. Sorry, go ahead.
He grew up Mormon, and so they got married when they were like 17,
Oh.
18. They had kids immediately. Like,
Was he still very much about his religion?
no, he hated it.
Okay, so see, I was about to say that. I was about to give him the out loophole of like, well, when you are under, like, Mormon is one of those more like they're about their religion like that. Like Baptist Christians, we kind of have a lot of wiggle room of like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it says, but it's okay.
Or Jehovah's Witness. I can't remember actually. One of the
Yeah,
two.
Jehovah's Witness is also one of those like they're pretty about it, but
Yeah.
it's. I was about to say like, well, yeah, then if you're locked in, then marriage is like, yeah, there is no out for them. There's no like, it doesn't matter. But I guess if he's already talking to you about like I'm looking for a reason for the divorce and all that stuff, he's already out of that. Did he say how long he was happy before it went
He
down?
was never, from what I understood, he was never really happy.
Mm.
He just this was his life. Like, this is just how he grew up, and this is what you're supposed to do.
That's such a different generation than ours. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. People like obviously every generation has its flaws, right? And you could say our selfish nature or whatever is a little bit like a little self-involved and all that stuff. Whereas at the same time, we're also very woke, as it were, where we do care enough about people a little bit more. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like our level of selfishness is that clearly marriage has not meant as much as it used to back when. Like it's not as big a thing. It's a step up from boyfriend girlfriend, but it's like not respected the same way
Mhm.
that it used to be. Whereas like that, like even that concept of being stuck like that is so fascinating to me. Like I know this like the beta male thing is like definitely a part of it and like he's looking for an out, but the fact that he thinks he needs an excuse to leave his
Yeah.
wife, that his excuse could just be your like for us, it's like I'm just miserable.
I
So
have more. I have more, just so you know.
okay. I mean, listen, we're only 20 minutes in and I'm more than bought in and we haven't gotten into like the actual strippers. We've been talking about the guys and
Uh-huh.
I am also interested in the characters who work at the strip club besides the boss. But go ahead.
So the girls there, it eclectic. This is the thing that like people don't get about strippers is that there's a huge range of types of people that would get into that profession. There was this one woman, I know her. There's the dancer name, and then there was the real name. I didn't know any of their real names. I only knew their dancer names.
Yeah. I
Wasn't
would assume for anonymity, we would probably go with dancer names.
Yeah.
Unless
Sophia.
they're still dancing, in which case I guess it would be better to just make up a name in general. Neither here nor there. Go ahead.
they'll be fine. I'm sure. I don't think they give a fuck about my opinion. But
Yeah, I guess if you're a stripper, you gotta. That's another thing about the whole sex market thing. Well, this is a comment from Carly. Well, if he and she were Mormon, she can't get to collab unless they stayed married and he gave her the password. What?
I don't know. I don't. She'll
I don't
elaborate.
know. Yeah, I don't know enough about Mormonism. What's get to collab?
I
But
don't know. But there's this girl or
unless she's
woman.
making a joke, that might have been a joke. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
There's this woman named Sophia. Her dancer name Sophia, and she
That's
had.
a really whack dancer name. A hot take. Sophia coming to the stage now. Sophia.
Dude, I got to do that a few times.
Oh yeah.
It's spelled Kolob.
Okay, now
what
I
is
gotta
happening?
Google it. Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. You go
So
ahead and tell about Sophia.
So Sophia
About
was
something.
a teacher. I'm not going to specify the age range because I don't want anyone to be able to figure. That's Mormon heaven. Is the planet? Oh,
Yeah, is a collab. All right, time to learn something about more. Did you think this was coming up in the stripper episode? Neither did I.
yeah.
Collab is a star or planet described in the Book of Abraham, a sacred text of the Latter-day Saints movement. The Book of Abraham is traditionally held by several Latter-day Saints. I'm sorry, I didn't know that Mormons had a planet. that they
To
believed
clarify about John here before we keep going on Sophia, John completely lost his faith. He didn't care about any of that stuff. He was broken down to the point where he didn't have enough confidence and self-reassurance to just get out of the relationship.
Oh, how did it get so
Um,
broken?
This is years. It's like how did I become how I became? This is
That's
years
true.
of people
Gaslight.
building on it.
Did I guess he wouldn't bring his wife to the strip club? I was gonna say, like, did you ever see her? No. Okay. So Sophia. Sophia.
Sophia, she worked. She was a teacher, so she had degrees. She's a very intelligent woman, very intelligent.
Was she not
Yeah.
making enough money as a teacher?
No, she wasn't. She got herself through college through dancing, right?
Okay.
Then she became a teacher. Realized she made more money dancing over many years, and then was like, I guess I'll just go back to dancing. I'm pretty sure she was a grandmother too.
What?
She was a grandmother.
Young grandmother.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was one of those. It made me realize, like, oh, this is not something to be judged at all. Like, yo, if you make it to Celestial Kingdom,
Top tier him. There's 3 levels. You get to make your own planet.
That's so ridiculous.
Their religion is okay, and this is where it's hard to talk about because our religion is also not the
Wacky.
most logical. It's super wacky, but you get a planet. I didn't know you got a planet. I want a planet. What would you even do with a whole planet? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So that was Sophia. She was really.
You realize that in working with the strippers, each have their own stories, and they're not all like, "Ugh, I just like it, and I don't want to work." Like,
Yeah, it's like people look when they hear stripper, when they hear dancer, whatever, they think there's this blanket vision of it, but everyone's getting in for different reasons, and they're all different. So like Sophia was great. She was one of my favorite people to work with. And then there was girls like Veronica.
Okay.
Not her real name, Veronica.
Okay.
So Veronica was maybe 23, I think maybe a little younger than me, but she looked like she was 16.
Oh.
And she made bank. She made so much money.
That's such an interesting market, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
Just in the way of like, pedophiles are a thing.
Yes.
When we've talked about how like it's come to very obvious realizations that that's more of a what's the word? Not a preference, an urge. Like they like that. Like that's their sexuality. It's not good. It's horrible and detestable, and they shouldn't act on it. But
Even that got complicated. So she made bank because some guys had clear urges. Some dudes were straight up pedophiles, and some guys wanted to feel fatherly. So like, yeah. So so the way it worked was you come in and then there's the dancing area. There's the outdoor patio for hookah. There's the lower tier dance room, and then there's the private room, right? So there's to be this guy, I can't remember his name, it doesn't matter regardless, businessman, successful businessman, like baller businessman.
That's another part of the demographic that doesn't get touched on much is the quote unquote too busy for it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like he doesn't have time. It's not that he couldn't get a girl or doesn't have the social to get a girl, or maybe he does. I don't know. But from what I've heard, it seems like those guys are just like, time is money. I don't have time to like sit down, get to know a girl, go on a date, all the stuff.
Yeah.
I have meetings I have to be at, but I still have sexual urges. So it's just more cost efficient if I just spend a couple $10 to go in, give a girl like $20, she'll rub up against me.
Yo, way more than 20. She would walk out with $1,000.
Jeez.
One guy. I remember this guy, and he was like the father type. So like if anytime a girl would have a private dance, it was my job to go back there and make sure nothing illegal was happening. And I would go every time he was back there, I would go back there and I would just check all the areas, and she wasn't even on his lap. They were sitting next to each other and she was just listening to him talk, and it like there was a lot of that. People don't get that. Like,
what would he like talk about?
I wasn't like hanging out. Like, what are you guys talking about?
What's happening, you guys?
Yeah, I from what I understood, he was talking about his like I think he was bragging a little bit. Like he was just kind of posturing, but she would walk out with fucking bank. She did really well. And her dancing style was so interesting because her style was like twerking, club, LA dancing. And then there was another girl, I can't remember her name, but she was, to put it bluntly, she was fat. But she had the grace of a ballerina. So she would go up there and do flips and was just beautiful art. She was making art on stage, whereas Veronica was just shaking her ass.
Yeah.
And there's more if you want to hear it.
That's very fascinating. Again, this is the like world that I'm interested in, because I'm interested in the human person to person dynamics of what's going on there, because it is so fascinating that it seems like the male side of it is more emotional connection than it is physical urge. Not that the physical urge isn't still there. There's clearly dudes that are just there for the physical urge, right?
The regulars were about emotional connection, and then random dudes were physical urge.
Got it. So the people who are recurring customers are like emotional. People who come in for like, it's the weekend and we did this once and it'll be months before you see us again. That's like their thing. Okay, what are those guys like? The ones who hop in for a second.
Those guys are always nervous. Like I would, because they're coming. We'll get there. It's loading. It's doing the wheel of pinwheel of death. I call it, the internet people.
Yeah, no, my friend was calling me. Out
you with me?
Face so that she doesn't call again. Go ahead.
You with me? You good?
Yeah, I'm golden. Sorry. Go ahead.
So, what was I saying? What was it? What were we talking about?
You were saying how the dudes that come in on the random are nervous.
Oh, yeah. They're usually young guys. They were coming in because they had never been to a strip club before. And after a couple months in, because I was desensitized, I could usually tell, like, oh, they're nervous. And, yeah. Okay. So
living with family.
Yeah. So what was I saying?
You could tell those dudes are nervous because you had been there long enough that you got it.
They wouldn't get the drill. So like what would end up happening is they would find one of these like coupons that would say free whatever entry. And oh, it was terrible. So they would bring this coupon that they found on the street in Gaslight or whatever, in Gas Lamp. And they'd be like, hey, here, I want to get in for free. And I'd be like, it's going to cost $10. And they'd be like, what the fuck, man? What is this for? And it's like, because technically you're getting in for free, but this is a drink thing. Like, it's a scam. It's a scam. And
it's to get you to the door. The hardest part is getting you to walk up to the club. Once you're there, it's easy to convince you in the door. Once you're in the door, it's easy to get you to buy a drink. It's a series of. It's kind of like here's my example. It's kind of like getting a girl from the club to your house. You can go from the club directly to your house, but it's way better if you go club, food place, other fun destination, house. Yes. Like it's just slowly but steadily. The more you can get someone in, the more bought in they are. Go ahead, it's business.
But the problem was like I'm the one dealing with it. So I don't give a shit if you guys come in. I don't care. This is not my business. But this is my job. And now you're screaming at me. And so I remember I had there's two managers. There was Augie and there was Athena. Okay. And Augie was, dude, I miss Augie. I have a picture with him still. It's on Facebook. Augie was this it's hard to describe Augie. He had something, I can't remember what happened exactly. He had a brain thing, so he couldn't remember he didn't have a memories of his life. Oh. His memory started maybe 5 years ago, basically.
That's interesting.
And he had a wife and some kids. He was an immaculate father, a hardworking dude, but fucking crazy.
Huh.
I loved that guy, but he was so crazy and weird.
What? In what way?
He didn't believe that we landed on the moon, and that's
crazy. Got it. Okay, got it.
And he was the sweetest, so nice, so interesting. Loved talking with him. He was the greatest. And then there was Athena. So Athena was that was her dancer name. That's not her real name.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is this not the other manager?
Yeah, she's the other manager. So she started as a dancer and then worked her way up.
Worked her way up to manager?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a ladder move you could make.
Neither did I. And she was cutthroat. She was fucking cutthroat. And I could tell she didn't like me because I was me. And
you're too happy about this. Yeah. I don't like this.
And she just had very little patience for people. She would snap on a dime. I remember she had these nails that felt like they were meant to scratch people. That was the only purpose for them. Like, she was crazy.
She put on her nails not for design choice.
Yeah. And so I remember, Dino was taking me on runs every day. Mm-hmm. And she started to hate me because I wasn't physically there to help her with work.
Yeah.
So the day would go, noon would hit. I would be there for about 30 minutes to an hour. Dino would come by and say, Aaron, come on. And I'd be like, all right. And then we would leave Athena there alone for 5-6 hours while I'm just with Dino doing stuff.
Right. But isn't the hierarchy Dino, then her and Augie? And
yes. And then me.
Yeah.
So when I would come back, she would be resentful because I was gone for so long. And so she can't yell at Dino, but she's mad at me.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
And then I remember I had to clean out it was terrible. So I'm dressed in a suit.
I don't like where this started.
Yeah.
The lining up of dots here is not nice for me. Strip club, bouncer, I had to clean the. Doesn't go good.
I'll get to that in a second, but there was a third manager, Joe. And Joe had mixed feelings about me, I think.
Okay.
He had, in my opinion, he had a lot of complex. He had a lot of ego going on.
Okay.
And the vibe I got was he was below Augie and Athena in respect, but was above me. So he would push down on me to try to, and so
up in respect.
yeah. And he told me a story that was wild. He worked at a sex shop because, of course, he did before he worked there. And he told me a story. Did I tell you about the blow up doll story?
No. Oh, no.
So he worked at this sex shop, and there was this regular. This guy would come in, and he would buy a blow up doll, and he would come in every couple of months. Those things are supposed to last longer than that. So he would come in.
Last longer than that.
Yeah, he would come in.
Already the context is amazing.
He would come in like every month to 2 months to buy a new blow up, and that was expensive, right? Especially in the time. And eventually, Joe was like, "Hey, man, do you mind if I ask, like, what's going on?" And he said, "Are you sure you want to know?"
Oh no! My brain immediately goes to his junk is extremely sharp for some reason. Like for some reason, I was just born with an abnormally sharp.
So
I'm just slicing these things.
So Joe is like, "Yeah, I want to know." And the guy's like, "All right, well, I buy it. I use it for its intended purposes until I'm bored with it. Then I take it into my garage and I cut it up into pieces, and then I bury it in my backyard and I buy a new one."
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're just doing it to dolls, right?
For now.
Man? Yeah, like, right, guy who's doing it to dolls. You've never attempted this anywhere else, have you? No animals that we should be looking for?
So crazy.
Where do you live? How many dolls have you done this to? What are you getting out of it? Is this a part of your So many questions.
Yeah. Well, he stopped asking questions after that.
Oh yeah, I would too. No, it would be a question between me and somebody else later.
Yeah.
And be like, can I not work when he... Because I feel like anybody who knows that information is immediately on the list.
Yeah, 100%. So, no, we're good. So so in the back, they what they would do is they would get all of the recycling and the trash, and for months to I think even years at a time, they would just throw it in the back, and it was this mountain of trash and garbage and filth and like maggots. There were dead rats, and in a suit in like 100-degree weather, I had to clean out the back. I had to like move rat carcasses, garbage all over me.
Sorry, I cut out. I heard I had to clean out the back.
I had to move rat carcasses, and I had garbage all over my suit and my shoes. I smelled disgusting. And I was doing that project for, I think, like 2 months. I would like, they would send me in the bed. They'd be like, "Aaron, you got to go clean more." And I'd be like, and I had to go clean out filth. And then there's this transgendered woman.
Okay. Wait, woman to man, man to woman?
It was complicated and...
Okay. Oh, got it.
If you want to talk, you can...
Yeah.
Wait, she's leaving. She's leaving. We're good.
Okay.
We're good. So, there was this transgendered woman, so male to female. However, sometimes he would come in as he. Sometimes he would come in dressed the way he would dress, like a male. Sometimes she would come in as she. Sometimes he had the whole getup.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we were
and
just
this is
on the mood.
I didn't talk to.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. And so this one makes me kind of sad.
Okay. Yeah. I also have a sad around this same topic when I worked at a hotel. I just you see people and you put together dots that are like, "Oh, buddy, like you don't gotta be that way." It's like I get it, but also like, come on, man, you can be happy. That's fine.
Shit. My aunt's here.
Is that not good?
It's terrible.
Oh, okay. What-
Hi there.
I don't need you anymore.
Okay.
You have space.
so real. Okay, so here's how I feel about cereal. I don't like milk, but like the food itself is it's okay. Like I know it's technically I don't know what is cereal made out of. It's like wheat bread. I don't know, but I'm a fan. I used to be a fan of Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes, and Fruity Pebbles. But then I found Pop Tarts, and that became my new breakfast until those were making my body not feel good. And then I went from Pop Tarts to sausages. So now I've been eating little microwavable sausages and rice with butter and sugar, as I explained earlier, whether it be in this episode or the episode before. Again, I did not know that was a black person thing until later. Um, you know what else? I think my favorite breakfast mascot is probably Tony the Tiger, just because he has such a catchy slogan. Like, like they're great. Like I don't know, it just beats out the "they're after me" Lucky Charms. It just doesn't. I also hated Lucky Charms. I didn't like marshmallow cereals. Any cereal with marshmallows in it is just trash. I just hard pressed to find me eating a marshmallow. I also didn't like chocolate cereals, like Cocoa Pebbles were gross. Um, what not Frankenberry. What was
Hmm.
the Count Chocula was gross.
No, thank
That
you.
was nasty. Um, what was the one that they said cuts the roof of your mouth? There's a cereal that's like not so bueno for your. I think it might have been.
Okay.
Okay.
Jesus. When next episode, if we want to talk about
Okay.
family, we'll talk about
Okay.
that because Jesus,
Good.
I know it's funny. People are
you
gonna.
were dead silent. You didn't even try to pretend to be having a conversation with me. You just like let me rant about cereal. I don't got anything on cereal.
People are gonna see this video and think, Aaron, why are you being an asshole? This isn't that big of a deal. They're just walking by. But we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. And also the topic that you're talking about, if
Yeah.
freely said, I'm sure people would have thoughts, and by people I mean the family would have thoughts. Neither here nor there.
What was I
You were
talking
saying
about?
about the trans woman or man,
Oh,
depending.
yeah. So I'm gonna just say she.
Yeah, for the
Say
sake.
for sake of whatever respect. And this is pre Caitlyn Jenner.
Mm.
So this
So
wasn't
before the movement.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. What's up?
everybody was before the movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this wasn't on anyone's like this was a strange thing for people. And she would want to use the restroom. That became an issue because the dancers would go in the female restroom and the men would go in the obviously.
Yeah,
And like the restroom and the dressing room were the only places of safety for the women
makes
away
sense.
from the customers.
Yeah.
She wanted to use the restroom as a woman, but there was this like it's weird because like
I think in that case, this hot take. This will be me. I'll take this one off of Aaron's plate. This is not Aaron's opinion. This is just me. As me, I'm gonna go ahead and say you got to use the men's one on this one because you're coming in as a customer, and you come in as a man sometimes, and you also come in as a customer. Like you said, those are the two places of safety for the women. You gotta go use the other one
the,
because you're more safe in there than they would be with you.
that was the
Oh,
problem though because
no,
the other male customers
didn't
wouldn't
like
want
that.
to didn't like that. And I had to guard the bathroom so no one would go in and beat the shit out of this lady
Oh,
because
okay.
she
Then
was in
I
the
guess that stands in the face of my thing. But you can't. Man, that is a
yeah.
dilemma.
It was a really and then and then with her you could feel this sense of embarrassment for having to go in the men's restroom and understand it was a mess. It was an absolute
Well,
mess.
well, these were these only on the days when she came in as a she, or were
When
these always a thing whenever they came in? Like, did the
when
other customers always know it was her?
No, no. If he showed up, then it wasn't an issue. When
Okay.
she showed up, it was rough because the types of guys that are going into strip clubs at noon aren't exactly woke people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it became very
Which is the ironic. You watched Atlanta, right?
yeah.
You saw the part with the transracial kid, and then it gets around to like how gay is an abomination, and that's like hilariously like hypocritical. It's the hilarious hypocrisy that is. You want to be not judged and feel the way that you feel about going to the strip club at noon, but at the same time, you're unwilling to accept somebody else who might need that same level of affection. And again, it's always interesting to see in communities where you kind of need acceptance where there's not acceptance. You
Yes.
know what I mean? At the same time, I do understand the dilemma from the trans woman's place. I
Yeah.
don't understand now. Again, I'm from a different generation. We don't have those feelings towards transgender people. At least I can't speak for everybody. I know I don't care in general, at least not enough to like make the world dangerous for them to live in. Like
Yeah.
if it wasn't for the patrons who are trying to beat them up, that's an easily solvable problem. You use the restroom that you have to because the dancers don't feel safe. That's an easy answer.
Yeah.
But like because you would then be put in an unsafe situation, now it is a thing. And you deserve the right to go to a strip club bathroom, man. Like that does suck.
It
So
was a weird position to be in, especially because I'm guarded and like to guard a bathroom and then have men come up and be like, "I need to use the bathroom," and I'm like, "I can you just I know can you give me a sec?" And it's like, "Bro, I need to use the fucking bathroom," and it's like, "You can use it, but then don't be weird when you see a dude in a
yeah,
dress next to you
right.
peeing." And then it's like, "But I'm not gonna be around some fairy," and it's like, "Okay,
Okay,
then
well then
stand,
you don't get to
wait."
use the bathroom.
Yeah. So
But yeah.
that was kind of sad. That was frustrating.
Yeah. My sad insert story was I was working at a hotel. I was working at it was more like a motel, but they had the brand of a hotel. And while I was working there, I was the janitor, essentially houseman, and I was sweeping up, and they made me sweep the entire bottom floor and the entire top floor. And then like I had to wash it down because they had like this very specific flooring that like gathered dust real easy and it was outside, so leaves and stuff would get on it. While I'm cleaning it, I go past this door, and I had been warned all day that there was a trans woman. No, I'm sorry. Was he? His thing. This was another one where it starts to get gray. He liked to cross dress, and he was definitely trying to hook up with men. I know because the other janitor who I worked with, he had tried to get at him in some capacity, and he was like, "Yo, so watch out." He didn't try to get at him. He just like said something to him, and he was like, "Hey, you might want to watch out." So I was like, "Oh, that's not a big deal. Like, yeah, I know people got their thing." But I go by the door, and like he kind of opens the door, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "What?" He's like, like, "What about this?" He's in the whole get up, and he's like, "Do you like this outfit?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Do you like it? I guess you look fine." It's like, "Do you want to come in? Do you want to come in?" And I was like, "No, I gotta clean. I gotta do the thing." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And then like he went back into his room, and I can't remember how it came out. Somehow, it just became every time I went by that window, you would hear the door open. Like she would quickly try to like come out and have some version of conversation with me, but I would always be like down the hall or around the corner. And it came out somehow that that dude was married, like married to a lady, and came here sometimes on the weekend to like do his stuff undercover. Like he would come down to that motel, cross dress or be a woman, and then he would hook up with men wherever he found them. And I was always like, this isn't the area for the just in general. If you want to do that, not that I'm saying you should, there's just we live in Los Angeles. You could go to where that is. Like there's a whole community and bunches of clubs and all that stuff to do that at where it's fine. This is like a pretty um regular, degular, like pretty like conservative area.
Yeah.
Like I'm just confused as to why you would choose here to do that thing, though it's very clear that you also have deep down in you conservative values and you feel ashamed of the thing that you're doing. So you're trying to do it on the low. I just feel like you could do it on the low better. And that made me sad because I was like, oh, you're like trapped. Like
Yeah.
you just it was that clear, like I know this is something that I want and need to do for me, but I can't give up the life that I've built, the illusion of like me and my wife are together and happy and that's good. So I'm going to do this sometimes over here. And I was like, oh no, like it's okay. You'll, I hope you figure it out, man, or
Yeah.
woman, or again, whatever you're doing.
Also, my phone's about to die, and I'm going to need to charge it to do Postmates.
We got 8 minutes, so it's fine. We'll
Yeah.
call this the first of, I'm sure, many a stripper episode because there's so much more stuff that could be said about it. Because I'm sure there were more than 3 strippers. But in the meantime, in the green time, thank you guys again for watching this episode of A to Z. I've been Zero Rimson. That's been Aaron Chase. You can find me on Instagram at @0_KR_anime. Him, bless you, at Aaron Chase. At Aaron Chase, no underscore. Man, he's really sneezing now. You can find more of this podcast on the Buddy System Comedy YouTube page. Just search Buddy System Comedy on YouTube. All of it will come up. Or search A to Z Podcast. All of it will come up. You can also listen to Aaron's ACMM podcast, which is also on YouTube or Podbean. And you can watch my YouTube channel by searching Zero Rimson. Just search our names. Pretty easy to find us because we're Aaron Chase is a little hard to like search because it's a normal name. But Zero Rimson's easy to find. And again, I just gave you all the tags. So thanks for rocking with us. Hopefully we see you guys some other week or whatever. Appreciate you sticking in. Later.